because at one time there was an 80-mile radius of people driving the Cross Brand. I want to do everything in my power to make it where they're financially stable, not spoiled, but stable. I want to do everything in my power to make sure that relationally they know how to treat their spouse, and that they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I love honey. That's what they call their grandmother. And I need to show them that. One of the saddest days of my of my life as a dad was when my oldest boy, Micah, realized that the chances of him and his generation being able to buy places around us, unless something happens, is pretty much gone.
Welcome back to the Wealthy Cowboy Show. I'm Crockett Carruthers, and this week we got one of my favorite preachers on from Cross Brand Cowboy Church, and he's also a rancher, Mike Morrow.
Hey, it's good to be here, man. Thanks.
How's it going?
It's good. Don't know why I'm sitting here.
Oh, you're a cowboy preacher.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
You got a pretty cool story, and I'm curious to hear it. Is how does one become a cowboy preacher, and what that path was when you were a kid? I'm sure you were raised as a rancher, huh? How was that as a kid? Yeah,
I was. I tell everybody I'm kind of first gen rancher cowboy because my dad grew up very poor. He had 8 siblings. He was raised by a World War II vet. And, we're from Wood County. That's where we're from, Texas, up northeast Texas. And we just kind of grew up farmer typing, cows. We've always had them. I don't ever remember a time when we didn't have cattle. We didn't grow up using horses. My dad was a firm believer in overalls and feed sacks.
Yeah.
And sucking cows. And so...
Real deal farmer operation.
You bet. And I always had an interest in it. And when God allowed us to start putting together some property around the original Morrow place up there, we were excited. And, of course, my boys and their story, my girls. And they don't know that there ever was not a horse on the place, you know? Yeah.
Oh, so where you always just wanted to be a cowboy when you grew up, or how did that go?
Have you ever asked yourself why it costs so much to get paid? Hey everyone, this is a show that has a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners on, and the number one rule in business is to get paid, right? If you own a business, there's a good chance you're overpaying for credit card processing, and there's an even better chance that you're getting terrible customer service. At Diversified Payments, we make the payment process simple for both the customer and the business. Being based in Central Texas, we're able to offer business owners personal customer service while saving them money on their credit card processing fees. And we're the only payment company that I know of that's deeply rooted in the ranching and rodeo industries. If you think you're paying way too much in card processing fees, or you can't get in touch with your payment processor when there's an issue, go to diversifiedpayments.com/wealthycowboy.
Absolutely. And I got involved in FFA really, really quick, and showing cattle. And of course, we always had some horses around, but Granddad really wasn't keen on using them. And then when I got in my late teens was when I went to work for an old steer tripper. They're outside of Winsboro, and that's when I kind of got my taste of roping and. What it felt like. You bet. You bet.
When did the preacher part come into play? Did you ever see that?
No, I never did. I was a heathen. Everything they said about preachers' kids, I made sure it was true in high school. And I went off to college and found the Lord there. I mean, I grew up religious, but you and I both know that religious is not always Christian. And so I went off to college, found the Lord, and started actually doing some youth work in a traditional Baptist church, and it was good. I mean, we had one of the larger student ministries in Jacksonville, Texas, when I was down there. But really, what catapulted me into the ministry was when we lost my brother. He made some really bad choices, and he really bad people, and he lost his life because of it. And I got asked to, start speaking in schools. And I tell everybody I left church work to start doing ministry. And then I even eventually got into public schools. And that was when, got married. Today's my anniversary, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, Riata, here we come after a while. Got into the public school, started doing kind of a gritty ministry pertaining to drugs and alcohol. And we got to move back to Quitman, where I went to high school, and started really as far as the pastor part, because I did student ministry, and like I said, I got into public schools and was able to love on kids, and I enjoyed it, them, walked with them through some really tough times. I was there for 15 years in the public schools, but all that time, I was speaking in churches and everything, had lots of opportunities to be a cowboy or to be a pastor, but I just really wasn't. I didn't like, and there's no offense to any of your Baptist or Church of Christ or Pentecostal listeners, I just wasn't comfortable doing that as a traditional church pastor. I just I don't know nothing about building buildings, raising funds. Just what I saw my dad as a pastor growing up have to do, I didn't really want any part of it. So in about 1999, I read an article in the Western Horseman. My wife and I were camped at Paladura, and I read an article, and it was over this thing called Cowboy Church. And I thought, what in the heck's a Cowboy Church? And I began to research it. And actually, I've been at Cross Brand since 2003. I mean, from the ground up. They'd been trying to organize for about 3 months, asked me to come down and speak. And by that time, we was doing yearlings and cow calf. We was doing a lot of trader cow deals. And I had my kids by that time. We had moved to the old gambling place is what they called it. We had put together some property around the old Morrow place, and they asked me to come down, and I ain't left. I ain't left.
You ain't got fired yet, huh?
Not yet. And you've been to the place, you wouldn't believe. I mean, we started in a little old bitty room, and moved to a junky barn thing, and then acquired the property where we're at now.
Yeah, it's super nice, and the church and all the buildings, and then the arena.
We're blessed.
When I was living over there, we went to rodeos there all the time, and y'all always put on good events there and stuff.
Good. Thank you.
Were the whole time? So when you were doing the ministry deal, were you still cowboying some?
Oh, absolutely, all the time.
Was that what you were doing for a living, or was it kind of hand in hand? Or
no, it was pretty much 50-50 on the income. I was teaching school and ranching. And at that time, what I asked them to let me do at the school was go to halftime, because by then we'd had quite a few cattle. And I've had 2 or 3 guys through the years that had been hired, full-time to help us. So when I was at school that half a day, they could do that. And then I'd get in the truck. Like I say, I didn't have an office when we first started Cross Brand, so it was my truck cab, And so, we still blowing and going. Lots and lots of ranching. Lots of ranching.
What is it? What's your operation? Like, where did you start when you started on your own? And what does it evolve to? Like, was it just cow calf deal? Did you start the yearlings or?
Well, we grew up, like I say, my dad's super farmer, I guess you'd say, but it was just straight cow-calf. Mm-hmm. And when the kids were little bitty, I started, kind of branching out, buying wet bag cow. And then I guess it was probably 15 years ago, we started preconditioning yearlings and doing some 90-day turns. Now, every once in a while we'd graze some, but we've lost. So I mean, I had ranch country in DeKalb, Commerce, had two pretty good sized places in Lindale, but they either sold. And I've heard all your podcasts. You know how that story goes. Mm-hmm. And so when we started losing those places, sure, and I bet I've lost 1,000 acres in Wood County of lease property. But, the 1,000 or so acres that we've got, and I know we're good grass. Where I'm at, it's, kind of sandy loam, and it will grow the grass. But I don't want to be the guy that overgrazes. And so we do our mama cow deal, cow calf deal, but we've, cut up some of it into traps.
Yeah.
And so now we're doing the pre-con deal, just basically a 90-day turn on them things.
Yeah. It seems like you almost got to do that because the land is so hard to come by.
Absolutely.
Now. And you can take a piece of land and, basically turn it into a feedlot or preconditioned lot or whatever in traps and maximize your use.
Yes.
Which if you're trying to grow grass, it's going to hurt it tremendously, but you can make a living on it.
Well, one of the saddest days of my of my life as a dad was when my oldest boy, Micah, realized that the chances of him and his generation being able to buy places around us, unless something happens, is pretty much gone. Mm-hmm. If you hadn't already got it, because I know your listeners are all over the United States, but I mean in our country, at one time we were buying land for $750 an acre, and that same land has sold recently for $10. Mm-hmm. And there's no way a cow will make that work.
Right. Yeah, and y'all got good country up there, like you said.
Yeah,
What's y'all's stock to a cow to 5 acres or something?
Mm-mm. We can do a little better than that. Mm-hmm. We can do a cow to, if it's good Bermuda grass, we can do a cow to 2.
Really?
Yeah. And the yearlings, especially, like this time of year when the ryegrass comes up, it just blows my mind how many you can stock, especially if they're just 3 weights.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I didn't know up there. I know like at home and in Central Texas there, it's definitely that way. People moving from Austin and from the DFW and cutting some big ranches up into tracts of, 500 acres to 200 acres and asking $10,000 an acre. And
yeah.
And that country's no good. I mean, that's like sheep and goat country, It's
sure.
Cedars and rocks and hills and
yeah. But people just want to be. They just want to be part of creation. Sometimes I remember I read a book. I believe it's Elmer Kelton, "The Time It Never Rained," I think. And I read it during a drought. How stupid a mistake that was. It just scared me to death, And back in 2007 or whenever that drought was. But I remember
every couple of years.
Yeah, I remember a line in the book. A guy was walking down the sidewalk in a major metropolitan area, and he was one of the ranchers and his kid. And he looked up. They were talking about all the plants that were in the windows of those offices. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, son, that's even people here want a connection to the land, even if it's just through a plant or a flower.
Yeah, and you can look at it bad or good. I mean, it sucks that we're losing the ability to ranch that land. And and they're just going to, hobby farm it or whatever.
Yep.
But it
If
is,
they do that.
it is getting people back, to the lifestyle, I guess, and thinking more about where their food comes from. At COVID, they realized, you can't just go to the grocery store and buy
that out. Yeah.
whatever you want.
Yeah.
They're like, we need to have a garden and have chickens and
that's right.
buy our own beef or raise our own beef or whatever.
Yeah. That's
So
right.
it's a good and a bad thing. It kind of ruins, like you said, some opportunities for us. I don't know. Like you said, it's going to be hard for us to be able to buy a place and ranch it and make it work without going to town and making money some other way.
That's right.
You can find some lease country every once in a while, but it's hard to come by also because everybody's hunting it.
Absolutely.
And when you do find it, you don't have huge margins because everybody wants it. So
Yeah. And it does. It concerns us. I don't know how many times that me and the kids have talked, and my wife, Trina. I don't think people know how much of an impact in 10 years, 20 years it's going to have on food sourcing because they're taking the property out of production. Mm-hmm. I mean, just in the last 10 years, I've seen so many places that I'm talking about were good places. There's a huge one there by Cross Brand. And Cross Brand is in Smith County, if anybody wonders. I ranch in Wood County and then drive to the church about 35 miles away. But even people that say, well, we're not taking it out of production because we're putting it back in hay. But your neighbor took his out too. No cows. You don't have any cows. You're going to cut hay. Cut hay for what?
Mm-hmm. You have to haul it somewhere.
I mean, and I know there's always going to be a market for hay, or I would assume there would be, but I don't think folks are thinking when they buy, even some of my dearest friends are townies, but when they buy those big places and take them out of production, just how many pounds of hamburger meat in a year they've taken out of America.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think too down there is what we're seeing is because it is kind of the hill country and we are getting the Austin and the Dallas people is the deer hunters or hunters are coming in and buying places and high fencing them. That was the main thing until this subdividing deal came in and ranchettes.
Yeah.
But we had, before that was hunters and they'd come in and high fence it. Well, they'd want the ag exemption, you could lease it. But now it's got to where they've got the wildlife exemption. So they're just, there are places that are, managing a profitable deer operation or wildlife operation. But a cow and a deer can go hand in hand. But then I've also seen people that have the wildlife exemption that are doing nothing. It's just sitting there.
That's right.
And I think there needs to be something done with that at the top, at the legislator level. It's like, let's maximize our land use somehow. There's got to be some regulations of, I'm all for freedom, but there's got to be some common sense there. Like, hey, we're going to take all this out of production and everybody's got to eat. So we've got to figure something out here.
Yeah. And something that I know Pete Bonds is quoted a lot in this room, but something Pete said to me a few years ago, because he and I partnered on cows and I ran cows for Pete, but he said, we just got to keep our wits about us because land needs to be used for its best use. Mm-hmm. And so, you've seen around Pete's place at Saginaw, they've just moved in on him. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the way he approached that with me was, they got to build somewhere. Mm-hmm. They got to live somewhere. And so I get that. I don't necessarily like it. I understand it.
Yeah.
But, to see just where we're at, we're very rural, mm-hmm. where I'm at. There's just so much of it is being taken out of production.
Yeah, and that sucks. And like you said in the rural deal, I mean, you got to be able to see the writing on the wall when you live close to a bigger town, though, that it's going to grow out to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not against that. I know I see stuff on social media and all this about people talking about quit building houses.
Oh, they're mad, boy.
Yeah, on our land and all this. And it's like, for one, those people have seen it coming. And for two, you should be glad because, and I might be biased because my family's been in the home building business for a long time also.
Sure.
And they sell that stuff for lots of money. Something that's going to be subdivided right there by town. When they put those subdivisions in, the landowner is making a bunch of money.
Absolutely.
And that allows them to, if they want to keep ranching, go somewhere else and buy another ranch and keep ranching.
That's correct.
And probably be in a better spot and be able to have a better operation, a nicer one, whatever it is, a bigger one. But I'm not against it. And I know, like my father-in-law, he wants to be out in the middle of nowhere away from people. And I'm like, but if you do, I mean, there's two ways to look at it.
Well, he can't do that because of that grandbaby.
Yeah. But there's two ways to look at it. If you do buy a place, with saying 20 years, town's going to come to it. I mean, everybody wants to keep something in the family and have a legacy and all this. But
that's right.
Town's going to be there. Well, that place is going to be worth 5 times as much or 10 times as much or whatever. It's going to be worth a lot more. Yeah. And then you can sell it, go do it again, or go move to West Texas where nobody wants to be.
Yeah, that's right.
And buy a big place. So
yeah.
I don't think it's. I think you got to look at it from both sides. I mean, it's gonna happen. So let's educate ourselves on it. And
that's right.
Use it to our advantage.
Absolutely. And if you've got the property, like we talked about, you may want to consider, if you've got time and can sleep with some yearlings, put you some traps in and do it that way.
Mm-hmm. And I know, talking about the house building deal, there's a guy I know down there, I think he lives around Mason now, but they had a family place in Killeen, and they come in there and put a subdivision and, sold it for a bunch of money. And he was able to go buy, his own operation outside of town there. So there's some good and bad to it.
That's right.
And you do see, like D.R. Horton, he's in both businesses. He's in the home building and ranching business, which I'm sure the home building way outweighs the ranching. But
there's no question about that.
But kind of what he had done that I'd seen was buy those places, those big places, and build houses where he could, and then the places where he couldn't in the bottom or wherever, he'd just keep ranching that, run counties on it.
And full disclosure, I heard Dale Brisby talking about this, and I thought that was ironic. We've had real estate, rental property forever. And very similar to what he was talking about, buying a fixer-upper. Mm-hmm. Now, we wouldn't want to do that right now, but that is really helped with cash flow too.
Right.
Of course, I don't have any, I can't mechanic and I can't build anything. When I hang a picture, it's usually with a 16 penny nail and a hammer, and it just drives my staff insane when I'm hanging a picture. But, we'd knock around, buy them little houses or move them in. And we've actually moved in several on corners of our ranch, not taking a lot of property out of production, but, the rent on that pays more than, for that acre, we surveyed out and moved in a home. If it's renting, it's actually helping the ranch cash flow as well.
Right. Yeah, everybody, is going to have their own deal. And at home, that's kind of what a lot of those guys have done that have had success is at some point they'd bought real estate and, houses in town and rented them or flipped them or whatever they're going to do. But that's definitely a good place to put money. For sure. It's been really good to Trina and I and my dad. He's got some commercial property, but our big deal through the years is just to
keep a pretty plain piece of rental property. And it's been good to us. I mean, you've got your horror stories, you know.
Yeah.
We've got a manager, property manager that handles all that stuff, so I don't have to hear it. So
Yeah, you're not getting phone calls in the middle
we
of the
enjoy the rent check. We enjoy the rent check.
That's the most important part.
Well, you know, we got to make our monthly contributions to John Deere and First National Bank. So that's I see it and then I wave at it. If you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and it costs so much. That's what I'm seeing is, you know, if you do want to go make money, whether you're going to put in a grow yard or whatever. I mean, you got to have. You're not even going to buy any cattle. You're going to do it for somebody else. You got to have several $100,000 to set it up, even if you did have the place already.
Yeah.
And it just costs so much money to get started. And if somebody, what I'm realizing is I've branched out into different jobs with low barrier to entry, and you know, you can get started in jobs that can pay really good, and you don't have to have all that overhead.
Yeah. Yeah.
But real estate, a lot of people have made a lot of money in real estate.
Yeah.
And you don't, there's so many ways to do it. You don't even have to have any money to start. You just got to be creative.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
But that's pretty cool. So how long have you been at Cross Brand? Like 20
years.
Yeah.
20 years last September. Yeah.
How's your experience there?
It's good. Our church is healthy, and of course, you know, it's we were the only cowboy church in the area, and then a lot of my lay pastors, you know, and I'm very, very proud of this. They went out and started other churches, you know, 30 and 40 and 50 miles away, because at one time there was an 80-mile radius of people driving to Cross Brand. You know, it's one of the things we hear a lot at Cross Brand. Well, it just feels like home. It's just it is a low barrier, very non-judgmental. Mm-hmm. Now we teach truth. We teach historic Christianity. Teach the Bible, but still we've just got such a good group. It's a mixed group now. At one time, there was a whole big pile of working ranch cowboys that were in our church, many of whom you've rodeoed with and know. But a lot of them, you know, they've had kids or they moved off, or they're going to those other churches. Mm-hmm. But we run about 800 to 900 on Sundays. COVID just kicked our butt like crazy. It really worked us over. But we bounced back, got a real healthy team. The thing about where I'm at now that is so different from what I grew up in traditional church was that I call it an our team mentality. And I know, you know, team, this team, my team, your team, it's kind of a buzzword we throw around, but it really is. I don't know how many volunteers we've got, but it is phenomenal how they just, you know, our deal is church begins in the parking lot on Sunday morning. Mm-hmm. And so you're going to have people in the parking lot help you, you know, the coffee team, the guest services team, the music team. And unfortunately now the security team, you know, the safety team. But I'm just a little bit part of that process.
Yeah.
And the big picture. And it's fun. It's good. It's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, just from what I've seen, you know, what y'all have built there is crazy. Super nice church. And like I said,
good.
And y'all have built more outbuildings, I think, and stuff since I've been there. And plus the covered arena. And
you know what's crazy, Crockett, is that we said, why is it got to be just rodeos? Mm-hmm. And so we host now. I'm going to guess I know there's 4 different school systems that use our pen free of charge for their livestock shows. I never thought I'd thunk it that there'd be hogs and chickens and bunnies
Yeah.
in our arena, but so many of the, FFA's done a good job of marketing themselves. There's a lot of students involved. And so I'm going to say we'll probably have an extra 5,000 people scattered throughout the year just on FFA events now. I know we're fixing to put in more wash racks for cattle. And since you've been there, I don't know if you knew it, but we host a PBR now. Robson comes in and I mean, it's something else.
Yeah, and y'all have a pro rodeo too now?
We traded the pro. We did a pro for a long time, and Brack, our arena guy, they kind of traded for the PBR.
Okay,
it works out better for us.
Yeah, and that's probably a whole another entity is marketing. I mean, somebody had a great idea there of, hey, let's make this really nice facility, and it's going to drive a lot of people to our church.
Yeah.
And then, y'all used to have the rodeos that we went to. Big, you could win a bunch of money at the ranch rodeo, and you'd get a free entry fee if you went to church that morning.
Came to church.
Yeah, that was a great idea.
We tried to kill off one of your team members one day. Remember that? Little boy.
Oh, yeah. When he passed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not even that kind of church getting, slain in the spirit. I look up and he's just out.
Yeah, crazy things happening over there.
Oh, Lukey. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that was good.
We've had lots of good times over there. I've always enjoyed it. And
yes, sir. And enjoyed having y'all.
That's what I liked about you so much is your background and being able to relate everything to everyday life that we go through. And even the city people that come, I guess they relate pretty good to it too.
Yeah. And even me making fun of the townies. I mean, they just kind of, I mean, what can they say? Yeah, you're right. We are. And we don't have a clue.
Yeah.
But, my kids, I said Sunday, I mean, every day it is a sermon analogy. Mm-hmm. I mean, all you got to do is just put your boots on and go outside. There's going to be something dumb happen or something. Mm-hmm. There's lessons. Ranching and kids, I could write my own sermon illustration book, man.
Yeah.
It's all there. It's all there.
Yeah, that's what I told somebody was, and the cowboy lifestyle, Western lifestyle or whatever, if somebody just followed us around with a camera.
Oh, that's right.
There'd be lots of good footage throughout the day.
That's right.
It's just catching it, and especially when you throw little kids in there and different stuff like that. There's always something going on, but a lot of people don't see it. And
all of my grandchildren are feral, so
yeah,
but that's genetics.
Oh yeah, y'all are raising some wild ones over there.
Absolutely. Well, one of them's got a barrel racer for a mama, so if that tells you where genetics came from, man.
That's it, huh?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
What's a favorite horse that you've had sometime in your life or you got right now?
I've still got him. My old buddy Bubba Smith called me one day and said, we've got a thin-souled horse on the sixes. And it didn't take me but whatever it took me, 10 hours, 10 hours later after that, I'll see you. I went out there and got BJ. And you've seen him. He's a sorrel horse that I rodeoed on. And he's still around. He's, and he's still, he's in retirement.
Yeah.
But I ranched on him. I've preached on him. Rodeoed on him.
Just one of those good ones you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I went out to Dixon Creek to get him years ago. Yeah,
there's I've had some of those, and I think they're very undervalued. I realized it, one night I was calving out some heifers and had one that needed to be pulled, so I had to pin her and caught them up, saddled them. Like I said, it was after dark, middle of the night, and go to pin her, and I can't remember. I might have had to rope her. I might have roped her and was able to drive her in the pen, but it was a chore. And I was like, man, and being with Cash up there when he had the county deal, the same deal, you'd have to saddle him in the middle of the night and go catch donkeys or wild horses or whatever off the side of the road. And
oh my gosh.
I was like, man, these horses are undervalued, that you can just saddle up and get on them and go and in the middle of the night and, not get hurt when you can't see nothing.
That's right.
And doing that, what we did, catching stuff on the side of the road and all that kind of stuff.
That's right. Got to have a good partner for that.
Right. What's one of your favorite restaurants to eat at?
Well, actually, we're going to go there tonight. It's the Riata.
Yeah.
I like Del Frisco's and the Riata up here.
Yeah. Just a good steakhouse.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about your favorite vacation?
We went to Hawaii on our honeymoon, then we went back the next year. I don't think I'm going back.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going back there. That was a good vacation though. Now, believe it or not, when the kids were little, and the average person's not even going to think this is a vacation, but when our kids were smaller, we made a trip. I was feeding some cattle in Nebraska, and I had them in the feedlot up there, and I'd never been to Nebraska. Mm-hmm. And so we just made this huge loop. I guess it was in July, and went to Cheyenne. Mm-hmm. So it was all my kids, and we toured the feedlot, saw some new country, and went to Cheyenne. And, to me, any time I could be, with my family.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. But that was a good vacation.
Yeah, those are always fun. I've never been to Hawaii. I think it looks cool in the pictures and everything.
Yeah,
I don't know about the plane ride over there.
Yeah, no, it's a long ways.
But we did go the same deal when I think I was going into 4th grade. We loaded up, spur of the moment, and went north and went up. We stopped at the Sixes and saw all that and just kept going north. And I think we stopped at Dodge City and, toured all that stuff. And
oh, that was neat. Dodge City's neat.
Mm-hmm. And went by the Haythorns in Nebraska and just saw a bunch of country and just drove. And that is back in the old days when you had an atlas and he'd plan out a route and how far we're going to drive that day. And we ended up going to Mount Rushmore and Crazy Horse up there.
Oh, wow.
And seeing all that, it was cool. And then we came back, looped around, come back through Wyoming. Cheyenne was over, but we toured, saw the arena and the museum and all that. And then Colorado Springs, the Cowboy Hall of Fame up there. And same deal, just made a big loop.
Yeah.
And
that's us.
And that was a real fun one. That's what I've told Shady is I want to do that again with Lottie and just me and her. I just like going on a road trip and seeing everything, seeing something new.
Well, and we started in Oklahoma City. So when we went up north, of course, we love the cattlemen's in Oklahoma City. And then the stock, the way they sell cattle just blows. The first time I was there, it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Sell 14,000, not tag one. Come on, man. And don't mess them up. You know? It's incredible. Getting
we
to
can't
see
sell 600 down here and
I know
without messing them up.
Oh, well, yeah, that's another podcast. But going to the Hall of Fame there in Oklahoma City it's one of the favorites parts of that trip when we made that big loop with the kids.
Really?
Yeah, it's always good.
Yeah, I've been down there. We hadn't been to the Hall of Fame deal though.
Oh yeah, you'd like that. You'd like it a lot.
What's one message with you being a preacher? It can be religious or whatever you want it to be. What's one message you would want to leave behind that could live on forever?
Well, I think our biggest legacy is, whether it's faith or finances, is going to be our kids. Mm-hmm. And it's very important to me that I have my house in order financially. I don't know that now all of my kids are involved. I mean, they all live a mile from my house at the ranch. They're all involved in rodeo or ranching. It's even the females, my Micah's wife is fixing to be the new county agent in Wood County. So they're all involved, and that's great. But if my grandkids ain't, they're still part of my legacy. And I want to do everything in my power to make it where they're financially stable, not spoiled, but stable. I want to do everything in my power to make sure that relationally they know how to treat their spouse, and that they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I love honey. That's what they call their grandmother. And I need to show them that. But also as far as faith is concerned, I talked Sunday about Joshua and, his famous last words. But of course he's 110. I'm almost there when he died. But it's just important, especially in we are in a post-Christian culture now in America. 30 years ago, even if you weren't a Christian, there still was some mutual respect there. A lot of that's gone, and I know that. But I, like Joshua, I just need to create a climate and an atmosphere where my kids and my grandkids can come to faith. It's going to be tougher for for Lottie than it ever has. I've got Wild Man, I got the Flower, I got the Monster, and I got Fuzzy. And then we got Baby Hernandez in the oven right now. They're gonna grow up in a completely different world than you grew up in, and I grew up in, certainly. And so I want to instill faith in Christ quick, as soon as possible, because I fear the longer we live, the more hostility and tension there's going to be with people outside the faith. So that's would be my parting shots.
Yeah, and I think y'all are trying to get that done at Cross Brand. We were just talking, y'all have a podcast and a full-time media team and all that. And
Absolutely.
Trying to reach people.
Yeah, and I do a thing called The Bottom Line. It's 2 to 3 minutes long. And it really is designed for the ADD people like me, that just ain't got much time, too cluttered minds. But, we just want people to know that, there is hope. There is hope. You just got to look to the right person for that hope.
Yeah, I think that may be a big part is, maybe we're looking up to the wrong people, in the world and going down the wrong path.
Yes, sir. It's easy to do.
Yeah.
It's not much resistance on the wrong path.
That you can see that. And in my experience, I see that is if you give somebody a choice, they usually pick the least resistance.
Absolutely.
Whether it's right or wrong,
Sure.
Unless there are principles there.
Yes.
Whether it be, principles instilled from faith or from something else, even gangsters back in the day had principles,
that's right,
that they followed. And if you don't have any, then you just, like you said, you just wonder and you can very easily go down the wrong path.
Absolutely.
And I always say, I heard it, listening to business stuff, but just find somebody that has done what you want to do, whether that's in business or cowboy world or rodeo world or whatever, and then just get as close as possible, consume as much as you can of their stuff and just follow them. I mean, success leaves clues, so you can just, if you want to be the best Christian, go find somebody like that, or the best dad or the best husband, whatever it is.
Yes.
Just go find a role model or a mentor and follow them.
In everything. That's why I made it a goal when my kids were little, because I didn't grow up cowboying. I I was in my late teens, I made it a point to surround my kids with horsemen and with good cowmen. Mm-hmm. And of course, you know my kids. I'm very proud of them. I know I'm biased, but they're good cowboys, and they're not idiots, and they can sure ride a horse, and but that wasn't me. I was at a ranch rodeo one time, and I was actually competing against the boys, which that is a highlight of my life. I won a saddle one time, right down the road, actually. Was you at that one, at the AFCC finals that year?
When it was up here?
Yeah. Mm-mm. Yeah. So me and Leon and Steve and Dusty, we win the saddles that year. I beat my boys.
Show them you still got it.
Yeah. But they couldn't. We were at a ranch rodeo, and a guy, the boys were just, they're poisoned with lariat ropes, and he thought he was insulting me. Of course, I was beating his team. And he said, well, they didn't learn that from you. And I said, you dang right they didn't. He just kind of, well, okay. But they learned it from good men. Mm-hmm. And that's what it takes. And you're right, whether it's Christianity, whether it's business or cowboying, expose your kids to some good folks.
I remember you telling this story at church one time of, I can't remember how old you said Micah was. He was old enough to go, and y'all were going to catch a cow, and you missed, and he come riding by, and he said, Dad, I got it.
I mean, he's 7. Riding a big old horse from Arizona. They called him Rattler. And, it was just... And what do you do? As a parent, you go, well, yeah. I mean,
kind of proud and worried at the same time.
You kind of pucker up a little bit, but I got this. So,
did he get her caught?
He did. It was a good day. I remember, first time your kids catch, you usually remember. Yeah. And of course, now my granddaughter, she's doing a little breakaway, roping there in pins, and it's just like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm ready to see some of that. I get those little moments when first time they do anything, but
absolutely. Yeah, that's good.
Well, I appreciate you coming in
Absolutely.
today.
Thank you for having me.
And y'all check out, if you're in East Texas, check out Cross Brand Cowboy Church, and Mike up there. It's an awesome place. They also have some little ones scattered out that they're affiliated with. You can reach out to them and see if there's one close to you. They got the podcast. Y'all stream it too? Stream the service on
Yes,
Sundays?
We do. Yeah.
So you can catch it on the internet. Check out their website and share this out. Maybe somebody else will get something out of it. And we'll see y'all next time.